What's up, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural episode of Kinda Funny's MCU in Review, where each and every week, starting the first week of January 2018, going all the way through May 2018, when the Avengers Infinity War comes out.
Good. You're good. You did a great job.
me and Nick's the funniest guy.
I'm having a great time. We can talk about Iron Man.
If you watch a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie every week in 2018, it'll lead perfectly up to Avengers Infinity War. Now, a lot of people are asking, what about Black Panther? Because that's the only movie that hasn't been released yet.
Right.
Well, we're going to watch that the week it comes out. So that's going to be out of chronological order.
Sure.
But whatever. We're adults. We can deal with it. Mm-hmm. But the idea of the show is that each and every week, Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, right on youtube.com/kindafunny or on podcast services around the globe. Now, I want to let everyone know before they get up in a tizzy. What do you got?
I just love Nick so much.
What's funny is this. He started talking and he faltered, and then I was like, maybe I don't know what week it is. Maybe I'm
No,
he's
it
like
was
just
just
the pool, you know what I mean?
You just you flubbed the word January almost, but then you corrected it. But like we're all so in sync with each other that we both knew. And I looked at Nick, and when I looked at Nick, he just without breaking eye contact, he's like, he was like, "Yep, continue on. You did it." It's like watching a great gymnast go off the pole vault and hit the pole horse, but land it.
On
Like when
audio
Tanya Harding
podcast services.
That triple.
Right now, it's just SoundCloud. SoundCloud.com/kindafunnyreviews is the way that you'll be able to see this. And all of our other reviews for movies that from now until forever. God, you got me in my head now.
We're sorry.
But it's not available on iTunes and Beyond Pod and all that stuff yet. They're waiting to approve it. I assume by next week we'll be good to go.
Spotify?
And going forward. Not Spotify.
Fucking Spotify, man.
Again, not our fault. Spotify doesn't play nice with
We're just
SoundCloud.
on Taylor Swift's team, you know what I mean?
She's on there now.
She's on there now. Yeah, there's
No
whole thing.
excuse.
Anyway, no matter how you want to watch it, we really thank you, and we would love if you would subscribe to us either on youtube.com/kindafunny or the podcast service you're using, or both.
Yeah, why not
Because those
both?
things really do help. And also, if you enjoy the show, you can support us financially at patreon.com/kindafunny, and we would appreciate that a lot. But the idea is every week we're going to discuss the movies, review the movies, and at the end of the episode, rank the movies. So this is the first episode. We're doing Iron Man, so it's not going to be too much of a discussion on where it ranks.
Bottom of the barrel.
The idea is that we are going to rewatch these week after week. We've all seen all these movies, but the idea is we're watching them fresh. We're watching them again to get ready. Because I hadn't seen Iron Man 1 since 2008 when it first came out. So we're all bringing it to the table with fresh eyes, knowing everything that we know, having that discussion. And so I want any Marvel rankings we've done in the past, any discussions we've had.
Throw those out the
throw them
window.
out the windows.
You mean
We're
the
starting
one
again.
Marvel ranking that me and Greg did?
We've done multiple.
Nailed it.
Throughout the years.
Sucked.
But the idea that we're going to try to hit, and knowing us, it's going to get a little bit difficult with travel schedules. But the idea is it's always the four of us at the table, and it's always Big Cab Dog over there.
Kevin, can I get a check in? What's happening to the dog pound?
I missed.
We can't see what you're doing. We don't. You're the confidence
I
monitor.
So we
started
don't know
the
if you're-
camera, but for some reason it was way off.
Kind of funny, everybody. Review every Marvel
get into
movie.
this.
I like that this is a real show. It
is.
isn't
And
just reacts for every one of them. We have like things and
There
things
are
to do.
things, and I think that the show's going to get better as it goes on. It's a little hard right now because it's just one.
We're going to
But
figure out along the way.
Sure.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's take it to our special correspondent, Clark Gregg.
We're going to start off with a couple of the facts, all right? Fact. Iron Man, released in 2008, the first Marvel Studios movie. Also, the first self-financed movie from Marvel. Because before Marvel, of course, we had the X-Men movies, there was the Spider-Man movies and all that. But this is the birth of Marvel Studios itself. This movie came out on May 2nd, 2008, which is just a little over a month before The Incredible Hulk came out.
Wow.
Interesting.
The next one in the MCU.
Yeah, the second movie in the MCU. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I
didn't realize
remember
it was
being
so
in
close.
theater. I remember seeing Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk playing at the theater next to it. Like, so I saw it late, and I was like, "Well, this is fucking weird," and I didn't realize they were connected. But
I thought,
now we look back at it.
and we'll talk about this obviously out the thing. I thought this movie came out way earlier than 2008.
Me too.
When I was watching it, I was like, "Whoa." They're all so young, number one. But then I was like trying to remember. I'm like, did I see this in Colombia? And then I was like, 2008. I was like, oh fuck no! I watched this
I
in San
thought it was
Francisco.
2003 for some reason.
But you think that 2008 wasn't that long ago, but it was in fact a decade ago.
I know,
Like
I
think
know.
about that. Like in all intents and purposes, this is like an 80s movie for Christ's sake.
I guess just-
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was a long time.
I guess
time
just
ago.
the way I thought of it was like, there's no way 18 Marvel movies came out in 10 years, but they
Yeah,
did.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, for a while it was, I guess it was always been like 2 a year, but then it got up to 3 a year. That shit adds up.
Wait, who actually produced The Incredible Hulk? Was that actually
That
a
was
Marvel?
Universal.
That was Universal. Okay, that's what I was going to say.
Don't
Because
get
they
ahead of
must
yourself.
have been. They were not. That was not Marvel Studios,
Yeah.
right? That was Universal's under the Marvel banner.
but it
though,
was
right?
Marvel Studios though. So
Right,
but it was
a,
the movie.
technically a Universal.
There was a lot of weird things going on during that point. It gets even more complicated because at this point, Disney didn't even own Marvel.
right.
Disney didn't own Marvel until August 2009.
Also, at this point, if people
Oh,
remember,
jeez.
the benchmark for superhero movies
Spider-Man 2.
was the Spider-Man 2. Actually, probably I'll give you that. I was going
The
to say
Dark
X-Men
Knight.
2, but I can't remember when X-Men 2 came
The
out.
Dark
Earlier
Knight
that year.
wasn't even out yet, was it?
Didn't it come out like right before?
It came out in 2008, but it wasn't May. No,
Yeah, it was
I thought
at E3.
April.
It was at E3.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
June
I'm
or
an
July
asshole.
or some shit like that. Yeah.
So yeah, just to put it in context, like
didn't know.
all we had was the X-Men series and the Spider-Man series, and those were
Superman from back in the
But
day.
that's the thing is, those were at the time really cool.
they were cool.
Yeah.
They
Right?
were cool.
X-Men-
They were always lacking something.
No,
though,
what?
right?
You didn't know X-Men? I remember
did.
seeing in theaters and being like, "That was awesome."
I did not. I remember seeing X-Men in theaters and being like, okay, like it was weird.
The Statue of
Yeah.
Liberty part was weird.
It was it wasn't it was a fun movie, and it was interesting to see what those characters would look like. But to me, it wasn't what I wanted from realizing what comic book characters would look like on the live action screen. Right? We saw that they had a really weird reason to bring them all together at the end. Jean Grey was like, "I'll study you," and it was like a weird Storm like lifts him up, and it's like, this
It was
is
a shitty Avengers.
Wolverine
It was-
isn't blue and yellow.
Yeah, and like and they
Would
had
you
those-
want blue and yellow spandex? Everybody's like,
Yeah,
it's a reference.
I kind of want you guys to look at spring. So yeah, I mean, like, and then I can't remember when X2 was. I'm pretty sure X2 was
2002?
still before that, right?
Before what?
I'll look
Before
at it.
Iron Man, right? Can you look it
Oh,
up?
it's like 6 years.
X2?
Yeah, X2
Yeah, X2 was the
Way
whole
before.
trilogy of X-Men happened.
happened before Iron Man,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So
Way
X2 I thought was
before.
good. Spider-Man 2 I thought was good. I thought those were actually decent movies, but still, when I saw Iron Man, I was like, oh, they figured.
Oh,
it out.
yeah.
They figured it out. They just got it.
2003 for X2.
2003 for X2. Okay, so yeah, 5 years. Wow, that's crazy. God, that would be interesting to go back and watch. 'Cause I bet that.
All right, that's a different series.
Sorry.
Episode 1 of
Actually,
MCU.
technically,
in review.
we only have to wait about a year before that's not a different series anymore.
Absolutely. Directed by Jon Favreau,
Yeah,
of course.
Happy.
Who also directed Iron Man 2
Mm-hmm.
and also has featured in many of the MCU movies. Had a budget of $140 million with a box office total of currently $585.2 million. So it did pretty well for
140
itself.
million, is that a low budget?
Is that worldwide?
That's a pretty low budget for them
Worldwide?
now.
Yeah, right,
I
yeah.
think they're probably usually
Wow.
over 200 million. That's actually kind of low though for a return for that.
Think about it though. Was it? Not at that time. Like that's the difference is that now the numbers are so inflated and so much higher than they used to be. that
They're
it's
used
totally
to making
insane.
between like 700 and like 900 million dollars on these movies though. I don't know what Thor Ragnarok did, but I think
Well,
the 700
he's talking-
is
that's
what
he's
it
talking
was.
that,
That
though.
is now. But back
That's
then,
true.
I was looking a little ahead, not to get crazy. But like Iron Man 2 did a bit better, a couple $100 million, which is still a lot
a lot
better.
more, yeah.
And then Iron Man 3 was the one to break getting over the 100 million.
Wait, I'm confused.
Sorry, the
Billion?
billion.
The billion.
The
mark.
billion.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense. I was like,
Yeah, the billion mark. So
Yeah,
that's as they go on. Obviously, more people are watching.
oh
all of
yeah.
them.
Well, that's the thing too. Remember, again, to put it in context, like we had not this movie was the first movie that personally, and I think a lot of people were the same with me. You walked in, you go, "This is it. We're starting. The ball's rolling." Like they figured it out. They got the like this. They nailed the superhero movie, in my opinion.
Oh, you walking out of?
Walking out of it, going like when I walked. By the way, sorry. Let me preface. I walked into Iron Man going like, whatever.
Yep.
I don't give a shit. 100%.
100%.
Who cares about Iron
I'm a
Man?
DC fanboy. Iron Man is mid-tier Marvel. I don't care about any of
If
these
you asked me
guys.
facts about Iron Man or Thor, I would, or Captain America for that point. At this point in my
Literally
life, I'd have
anyone.
been like, I have no idea who
Yeah,
these people
no,
are. I
so-
don't care. I know Batman, the animated series, and I know the X-Men original series from 1993, and Spider-Man from the
Yeah.
mid-90s as well. That's it.
In the random facts and stuff I was looking up, there was an interview, like a retrospective looking back with Jon Favreau talking and Kevin Feige talking about going back to Iron Man 1 and like what did it mean and what did they know about building a universe going into it. And they're like, no, like we weren't doing that. There was a lot of things of like in case something happens. But even the post-credit scene that is like the most famous post-credit scene in history with Sam Jackson coming out and talking about the Avengers, like that they put that at the very end. The only reason it was a post-credits is like we didn't want to confuse people like the normal moviegoers of like why Samuel L. Jackson here and what's happening.
Right.
Like they were like they just put it there as like a nod to do something cool.
Dusting off these memories that I don't really have anymore because I remember it, but like, so when they do Iron Man, do they not say that they're starting the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything's tying together?
No.
It wasn't until when?
I mean,
Captain
the ball
America?
didn't really start getting. I mean,
Not the ball, the announcement. Because there was an announcement I remember of like,
became-
we're doing this and we're all leading up to Avengers.
It became a universe as soon as Iron Man 2 because Iron
Because
Man
of the
2
NBC Thors.
references.
Technically, it became a
Hulk,
universe as well
Incredible
for
Hulk.
Hulk, right? Because there was a post-credit sequence in Hulk.
At the end of
where-
Iron Man 2?
It wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yes, there was. Yeah,
with
And we'll get there
John,
next week.
William Hurt, not William Hurt. John Hurt.
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
But no, the idea is, I mean, they were doing stuff, but for it to actually be building towards, will we actually get to Avengers? That didn't happen I mean, at least until I think Iron Man 2 was the kickoff of that.
Okay.
Because Iron Man 2, there was actually the scene where, and we'll talk about this eventually, but
Coulson finds the hammer.
Incredible Hulk footage is in
Right.
it. So it's like the same shit's happening. It's not just like Easter eggs.
That's so cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Damn, I forgot a point I was going to
I
make about
apologize, sorry.
John Favreau. We were talking about during the interview about them doing.
He was in
Building a
Swingers.
building
He had
universe.
something to do with
Well, a
Jones.
lot of
friends
it,
with
I
Tom
do know that a lot of
Morello.
it was like improvised, right?
And
Like,
Tom
you look
Morello
at
was
it,
was in the
improvised.
movie.
They like I was reading some of the factoids that there was there, and I know that they were talking about how like the script, they were kind of, this is the most amazing thing to me is like normally when you hear, hey, we were sort of writing this movie as we were shooting, that's the kiss of death. You're like, that's not a good idea, right? You should have a solid shooting script. But somehow he and the team, also shout out to Maddie Libatique, who's shot this movie, who also shot Straight Outta Compton and a bunch of other movies. Because I watching this again with fresh eyes, I was like, this is a pretty well shot movie. Like it's awesome that and this one actually really does set that aesthetic for what the Marvel Universe ends up just kind of being.
Oh, it had
right?
to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the coolest thing I think about this movie is that it was out there and they're like, oh, I remember what I was about to say about Jon Favreau is he, in the interview, he was talking, he was like, I mean, at the time, we were like, we're doing Marvel Studios. Not Jon Favreau, sorry, Kevin Feige. He was like, we're doing Marvel Studios. We're going to start making this a thing. Fuck, we can't use X-Men.
Yeah.
We can't use Spider-Man. There's already
Fantastic
been a
Four.
Hulk movie. And we don't want to do that out the gate. It was like, who's the next one? And they're like, I mean, Iron Man's pretty cool, but like no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, now it's all mainstream, but it's just like, I mean, even me being a Marvel guy or whatever, I wasn't then, you know.
But that-
Like,
but that is-
these movies made me interested. Iron Man made me interested in reading the comics
That-
and going back and figuring out who are the Avengers.
I think it was just a word of mouth thing because I didn't care at all about Iron Man or really anybody.
I mean,
aside
as a-
from X-Men and Spider-Man.
As
but
a comic book kid, right, but a DC kid, what did I know about Iron Man, right? He was in the Avengers and he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's
you know
it.
what I mean? Like that's all I feel a lot of people knew. And I'm talking about like if you're a Marvel fan, you're super in, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like in the comics, if you're not in that part of it, that's what you knew. Let alone if you went out another step to find regular people, what they're gonna fucking know about Iron Man, nothing.
But I feel like the same reason why Thor Ragnarok worked was the same reason why Iron Man worked, right? Because this is not a beloved character to everyone, right? This is not Batman. This is not Superman. This is a character that a lot of people don't know a lot about, so we can take a couple risks with it. I.e., let's cast Robert Downey Jr., who, if you remember at the time, name the last movie Robert Downey Jr. did before Iron Man, right?
Yeah, he was in a bad place.
I mean, he had a very bad time.
He was a tabloid headline.
Yeah, where he had lived, he had done a lot of stuff very publicly that was not good due to drug and alcohol abuse. And so I think like casting that, first off, if I was a producer, I'd be like, dude, that's a risky maneuver right there. But the fact that he literally is that character. Like he is a wealthy like person who has had some trouble in the past and has some demons that he's clearly like playing out in the public space. And so what better casting for that? But if I were Kevin Feige and the guys producing this movie, I'd be like, are we sure we want to trust this with this guy?
I mean,
Like,
Jon Favreau was like, I'm not doing this unless it's Robert Downey.
It's genius.
Well, I mean,
It was an
exactly, because it was that thing that I think my mom knew about Iron Man because of Robert Downey Jr.,
Yeah.
because of everything she had followed from, being a fan in the 80s up through this and what had happened to him and all. I mean, I remember that, like, didn't he, like, bust into some kid's room and, like, sleep in their bed or some shit?
Something
Like,
like
the
that.
parents
they
found
found,
out.
they found
Yeah,
him
yeah.
asleep in.
It was, and I mean, like, it was like
kid's
just because
room.
he was like confused and he was high and didn't know where he
Yeah.
was and shit. And it was that thing of like, wow, yeah, all right, cool. I guess that's weird. And I think that's what was awesome about watching Iron Man, really. And I'm talking about in the moment, in now too, but in the moment in time was the fact that here was a superhero, but he didn't have the trappings of trying to be a good guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's never been done in cinema, but again, think about where we were with comic book movies, and it's like, sure, Wolverine doesn't want to be Wolverine in the X franchise, but he is Wolverine. He's not even the Wolverine from the comics, right? Like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is a very, oh man, like I'm talking about through like X1 and 2, like a lovable, like, oh, this guy's awesome. I'm rooting for him.
He's got more of a polished Wolverine.
He's going to take care of Rogue, even though he doesn't want to take care of Rogue.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Deep down, he's a good guy.
And it's like, Bruce Wayne is obviously Batman's mask. Clark Kent we had before. Peter Parker, sure. You talk about like in this thing of like when they open the movie and he's in the Humvee and he's got the glass of bourbon, you're like, what the fuck? Like what? You know what I mean? But it's like this guy just doesn't give a fuck about anything.
And there were some things I picked up.
Great
I'm glad I
writing,
rewatched this because I had a kind of a crazy schedule this week and I was like, maybe I'll just go in. Glad I rewatched it because I caught a lot of things I didn't before, i.e. the stripper pole on his jet.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, wow, that is intense.
Not
right
even
there.
just it's that, but that whole scene's so great. Like I feel like this movie did a really good job of kind of letting improv set the scene, and then you could tell that later, like, oh fuck, we got to spice this up with a cut. And the cut of the movie is so good in the good parts because that scene where it's with Rhodey, and they're having that real conversation, and it just like fucking cuts, and he's
like, I'm just a
drunk as fuck.
babysitter, man. I'm just you just call me when you need me to come bring you your bottle.
Man. I loved that. It's funny rewatching it because I haven't seen it since 2008, and I remember feeling about that movie that I was like, I loved the first 40%, but then the last 60% was like, okay, whatever. It reminded me of other superhero movies that we'd seen. And at that point, we'd seen 6 Marvel movies that what I thought of as Marvel. I didn't distinguish this as any different, right? And watching it again, I'm like, holy crap, everything I believed about it is just magnified with the knowledge now of 10 years of seeing the MCU grow, where the first 40% of this movie is up there with, I think, the best of it. And it's because it's focusing on Tony Stark being Tony Stark, which absolutely sets the tone of what the MCU is. And all the dialogue is so quick. The editing's so quick. The shots are beautiful. And then once it's that latter 60 half, I was like, oh man, this is rough.
Where does it kick in?
My thing is, I always thought that I only didn't like the last third. I only didn't like the kind of final battle because it felt like there wasn't.
It was Russian.
Nowhere. Didn't make any sense. But
I went
actually
from being
think
a
that
normal business person who's really smart and cunning to just a fucking ridiculous zany villain for no reason.
That's just a bigger version of the guy, which I get is what
that
they
was
do.
we'll get to that in a bit.
But
we'll get to that when we get to the plot
I was
section.
surprised that I was like, man, there's like a middle hour of this movie that is so slow compared to
when he's building the
how
suits.
fast.
It's so weird to me. Like I love
I
that
love
part.
that stuff.
I love
it.
it. And here's what I noticed on this one. You're right. It is a lot slower. It's a lot slower because if you watch Iron Man in the next few iterations, there's no explaining what's going on in the suit. There's no, hey, put power to my chest. There's no like him talking to Jarvis and actually controlling the suit. He just does it, right?
Yeah.
If you take the scene where he fights the Ironmonger, is that how you say it? Ironmonger, and then you juxtapose that with the scene where he does Hulkbuster versus Hulk, it's like. That one's on fucking speed, man. We're not trying to exist in normal. We're not trying to rationalize what's going on in the suit anymore. We're just doing stuff. It's cool. This I liked because I was like, I want to see him build the suit. Similar to how I want to see how Batman's going to figure out how to make his suit and do all that stuff. The origin story of it was the fascinating part. That and I still stand by. You take Robert Downey Jr. out of this movie, you got nothing.
Well, totally, and I think that's my problem with what I'm saying is I agree. Him building it and him learning stuff and all that's great. I feel like it was stretched out a little too long in a rewatch, especially juxtaposed against how amazing and fast the first bit of the movie is.
Yeah.
Because once he gets back from being captured, it's just it's so much exposition, so much.
I loved it though. I feel the opposite, where I was just like, I like being in this world. I like watching these characters. I think he had great chemistry with Pepper Potts. The only character that I think was just a little way too outlandish was Obadiah Stane because, and it's not Jeff Bridges' character fault.
I did not know was Jeff Bridges.
Oh yeah,
until the rewatch last night.
How did she really?
No idea.
Because he doesn't have amazing hair.
Last time, when I first.
He's never had
besides
a beard.
being young, watching him in movies. The first time I thought of Jeff Bridges was Tron Legacy, which was 2 years after this, and he looked totally different than he did.
Yeah, that's the thing about, and I've noticed it whenever I watch Jeff Bridges since Iron Man, is the fact that I don't know.
I just feel like you watch him at night.
Get out of my lawn, Miller! No, but it's the fact that, and I don't know how it's that they shot him or they costumed him or they whatever. Or maybe it's just playing on my head, but he looks big in this movie.
He's a big guy.
He looks big in this movie.
I don't think Robert Downey Jr. is all that tall. And in fact, I think because you can see shots of him, there's shots of him on set where he's wearing platform lift shoes, and he has and this is gonna ruin every movie he's in, but spoilers, he does this thing with his jeans where they puff out. So at the bottom, like they like bell bottom flare at the bottom, even in his suits, you'll see in Iron Man 2 when we watch the next one, where it's hiding the lifts that are in his shoes.
Doesn't wear a costume. The only time he ever wore the Iron Man suit was in Iron Man 1.
Really?
Yeah, it was a little Easter egg.
Oh, it's always CG, isn't it?
Yeah, since then it's been CG, or like at most it's him in like a weird
like a chest
football
thing.
version.
Yeah, and then they have the green screen on the movable parts or whatever. Yeah.
But no, I think Jeff Bridges is pretty tall to begin with. A and B. You're getting a good caliber of an actor here. I mean, look at the main cast in this. You've got Robert Downey Jr., who is a phenomenal actor and definitely carries the movie. You've got a supporting cast of Gwyneth Paltrow, who is also a phenomenal actor, and then you've got freaking Jeff Bridges with a man beard. What's up? Shout out to your man beard.
It's coming in.
And shaved his head. It's awesome. I mean. And, you know, by all accounts, they had a great time filming the movie, but it was probably a little hectic for him.
I would have loved to have seen Jeff Bridges
script.
be a different villain somewhere else in the MCU. I just think I didn't know. I don't think he was utilized correctly. Like I feel like he's such an incredible actor, and
He definitely was not.
It was
Yeah.
they used him like you use villains in movies that if you don't know the movie's gonna go anywhere. Where he's like a cunning businessman, whatever, and like who do you think's getting you? Who do you think whatever sold you out to the board, Tony,
I
or you
blocked
got
you
the
on the board,
injunction
or
or
you got the
whatever?
injunction,
You're
yeah.
like, yeah, all right, cool. And then you jump to him in the iron suit, and he's like fighting him in the street, and he's literally telling Tony how he's going to continue to run the company. I'm like, it's over, dude. Like you just, what are you talking about? No,
As soon as the feds come to raid your
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
warehouse,
And
you're
you
done.
go
It's
out-
before this suit. The scene where he uses the weird, like, high-pitched
Oh,
thing
yeah.
to, like,
Yeah,
Tony,
yeah.
and Tony's all, like, fucked up on the
is really
couch.
trippy.
He talks for, like, 4 minutes straight. And it's like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
He that is the only there are a few holes in this movie. A few well, I wouldn't say holes, but
patches.
there's some things that were a little bit sped up, and the latter like half of it, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like we get to that point, right? And you're like, oh my God, and then it's just a race to the end. And even like there's two main things that stand out to me that when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, I just gotta forgive these because I really like this movie. One, Obadiah Stane's like switch flip. You're just like, okay, cool. You're just a psychopath now.
Yeah.
Before you were this person
he
who
was in bed.
You're
on
a
an-
father
fucking,
figure.
He
like-
was in bed on an LG phone.
Oh my God. All the phone tech in this, it's like
hilarious.
how adorable. Like it's right as the iPhone's coming out.
But
So like the
even
world
then,
hasn't changed.
Even then, like they fucking just knew what to do with like holographic like graphics and things like that. Like when he sticks his hand in the holographic
Yeah,
arm,
that's
and I was
so
like, man,
cool.
they were
That was so
so
cool.
ahead of
I mean,
the
again, like
ahead of
we talk
everything
about
here.
this movie setting the stage for MCU. This movie defined a visual style.
Yeah.
When we talk about Star Wars, one of the things that gets brought up so much is the sound effects, where it's like they invented what lasers sound like.
Yeah,
you
oh, yeah.
know, and Iron Man invented what heads-up displays look like.
Yep.
Like that. You
Well,
don't
Minority
see-
Report, maybe.
Well, Minority Report.
No,
I
but even
think
that it was different. Minority Report was like it was using your hands, but it wasn't
yeah,
like augmented reality.
I guess
there was still
dealing
a screen,
with
right?
holograph. Yeah, he was like pulling images. Yeah,
But like you
So
forget because
cool,
he takes
man.
that little thing, and you're like, oh, he's just kind of doing a touchpad thing, and he throws it onto the augmented reality table, and then that thing pops up in front of him, and he just starts playing, and that was like
fucking cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
So sorry, going back to the things the quickness with which Obadiah Stane goes from a very smart, cunning business person to a cartoon villain was a little hard to swallow. And then there's just the ending part where he's like, you got to blow up the fucking arc reactor, and he's literally hanging right above this thing and is fine.
He got blown free of it. He didn't
Why
get
didn't the other
electrocuted
guy get
because he got electrocuted.
I guess so.
Trust me, that's my whole thought process. I was like, how does this end again? Does he fall through the hole? No, he
only
gets
thing-
blown out of the.
The only thing,
blown out of the hole.
the only thing I can think of, because you see the chest piece, was that his wasn't charged and it just went to the chest piece and charged. Because you see Obadiah Stane's chest piece overload and blow
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
like the arc reactor in his chest blow up. So maybe, I don't know, it couldn't take the full charge of it. Those are the
Whatever.
only things that I'm just like, I just gonna.
But that's all, that whole final battle. You're just like, yeah. I remember even then it was just like,
I also, I mean,
just needed
another
another beat.
tiny, small little nitpick that like doesn't really matter. But when Pepper Potts is watching the video of what was the evil forces
interrogation,
10 something
10
circles.
Oh,
The
translate.
The tenor types in translate. It's the same voice she's talking in English. I was like, oh man, that sucks. Like
So a
that
couple
was such a
fun-
cop out. Like
Oh,
Oh,
What's
like,
crazy
Tim's
about
got
it-
fun facts. We're ruining the
crazy about
show.
it, before that, I did not realize that right before the title sequence, they pull off his mask and it pulls out, and it's that shot of when she's watching it on the computer.
Well, yeah, okay.
They're
so
filming that.
So fun Easter
sequence.
eggs.
I didn't know that.
Easter eggs. The 10 rings. The bad guys. Obviously, they were named after the Mandarin's 10 rings.
Right.
But they just didn't realize they'd ever actually get to the Mandarin stuff. But very cool thing is that scene that is actually from what they shot earlier in the movie that we see. When that guy comes in and is speaking the other language and there's no subtitles. it's when it translates, that's actually what he's saying, and there's more to it. And if you, I forgot what the language is called. I was reading this and I couldn't find the link again today when I was looking for it, but it's like Uruguay or something like that. And they give the entire plot of the movie in the speech. Like they entirely are just like, Obadiah is trying to kill Tony.
just didn't know that or
and blah blah blah. But unless you speak that language,
That's cool.
Oh, that's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
Spoilers for the people who spoke that language.
Some guys in there.
I know. Imagine that, right?
Well, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
One of the I had mentioned this earlier, but I just fucking spotted him. I was like, that's Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, and he was one of the soldiers. He's the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine.
Really?
He was one of the soldiers for I already forgot the name, Ten Rings. And then I googled. I was like, how did Tom Morello become involved in this? And he wrote a lot of the score for one of Jon Favreau's prior movies, and Jon Favreau wanted him back
Elf,
for this
probably.
one.
I'm guessing Elf.
No, definitely not that.
Chef.
And then so he wrote a lot of the score in this movie as well, and they put him in the scenes, and he's one of the dudes. I was like,
That makes sense.
That's
though.
cool shit.
That makes sense because of given the sort of genre of like the heavy metal, like soundtrack.
I was so uncomfortable with Pepper Potts sticking her hand in the thing
I love
in the
that.
arc
Always,
reactor.
always.
Like my body felt so ugly. Like
I felt like a lot of those scenes weren't necessary. Like
Oh,
the
they
weird
were.
kind
I
of
mean,
gross
they were.
out.
I think it's
things.
good. I think it's good for back and forth to see
I'm
their
saying that, but the level of
relationship.
gross outness, it's just like that. I feel like that went far, and then there was another one when with the high pitched thing.
Yeah.
like
Just
some of it
twisted.
was like it was like really. It was funny where I'm like, this ain't Disney, and like
No.
that's what made me. That is the moment that I was like, did Disney buy them already? And then I looked back, I'm like, oh no.
I would love to see Terrence Howard and how he would have been Rhodey in the rest of the
So
franchise.
some fun. Terrence
we are.
Howard.
Sure, lay on.
Shit here. Terrence Howard had a 3-movie contract with Marvel, with Iron Man as the first project. Also, he was promised an increased pay if the movie Iron Man became a success and was turned into a franchise. The money deal offered to him was actually way more than what Marvel had offered to Robert Downey Jr. But once the movie made a killing at the box office, Howard received only a fraction of what was promised. Hence, he decided to walk away from the project, and all the money went to Robert Downey Jr.'s pocket.
Wow.
That's why
shit.
Terrence Howard was dethroned even before he got used to his act.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
not
was,
what I remembered.
That's not how I remember
Wait,
that going down
dethroned
either. I
before
thought he
you-
wanted more
Yeah, whatever.
money.
That was
I just
editorializing.
figured the character of Rhodey, like this military man, Terrence Howard embodies that so much more than I think
Don Cheadle.
Sure.
Don Cheadle is. Like just in terms of his stature, and he's a bigger dude, and Don
yeah.
Cheadle's kind of like a smaller, skinnier guy.
Well,
One
don't
of
get me
my
wrong, I
favorite
fucking love
moments
Don Cheadle, but
in this movie was such fan service. But when you just see
Yeah.
Terrence Howard, the camera
Turns
goes
to it.
over the silver one. Next time,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah,
Let's go.
so cool.
sorry, go ahead.
I didn't like Terrence Howard in this when I originally saw it, and I didn't like him in this rewatch. But for the record, I also don't like Don Cheadle in the Iron Man movies. I think I just don't like the Rhodey character.
I like
And
Terrence Howard a lot.
And I think watching this one back, it's because who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. Why is he a military
He
operative
answers to
working for a
no one.
private-
Answers to no one.
He's like a
gives
colonel.
press
He's like some
conferences.
Black Ops guy that nobody knows
Was
who he
he?
answers
Has
to.
he always been
Tony.
friends with Tony? Like, and I know this is explained probably in the comics and all that shit, but like as a movie watcher, I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, how is he involved with
It was a question
everything?
I had when I rewatched this because I was like, why? Because at the end, like toward the end, he's giving a press conference in front of the Stark Industries thing about the mishap that happened with something else, and you're like, wait, what? Shouldn't
Like,
that
why?
be a
Well, like,
military?
I don't know. I mean, he does
base?
mention that I'm your babysitter. So I
So
clearly
I
there's
always
like,
thought he was the military liaison for Stark Industries because they're the ones supplying the weapons
Yeah.
to the military, and so there's that gray area that
Well,
we play
they
with.
say like when something's going wrong, he says, "Give me the guy, give me somebody or the guy from advanced weaponry or whatever."
Yeah.
So he's in that department, I get, but again, he comes down, he just overrules everyone when he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's
Training exercise.
Yeah, turns off the mic. He's like, "It's just a training exercise."
that's
There's fucking robots fighting in the street, man. We gotta tell somebody. Someone above us is gonna have a question about this.
Man, but I'll tell you though, all of that. I don't know where we're at right now with the rundown of this, but like that last scene hits me
Every time.
Oh my God.
Because
fucking
again,
time.
so good.
I understand that for people who are younger and didn't experience this, and now everybody knows Iron Man, yada yada. As somebody who knew he's in the Avengers and an alcoholic,
Right.
I've read comics my entire life, whatever. I'm sitting there and he just looks. I am Iron Man. And it was, and the boom, and I remember being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Really?
Decades of movies at this point where the superhero had
just got
to
chills
so
again right now.
closely guard because
Yeah.
he didn't want anyone around.
dual
him.
identity. He doesn't have to
I'm
worry.
Peter Parker. I'm Clark Kent. No one can know who we are because I don't want to put my family right. Let's put
I
a
rub my
mask.
face a lot.
facade. The fact that he literally looks at the card is like, I am Iron Man. And then it's 1 second of like, what? And then, pow, 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 and it's that dope ass.
So good.
I think Prologue Films is who did it. That fucking rad,
Motion
like
graphics.
wireframe.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love it. I mean, again,
Oh,
so I mean, if there's
shout
one thing
out.
this movie did is it set the tone of what
Yeah.
the MCU is,
Yeah.
and I think that obviously Robert Downey Jr. I think and Tony Stark's character is really kind of just like what they based everything else off of. But even the little things like the motion graphics endings and the way that they had the post credits and all that. But just the moment of him saying "I am Iron Man," it's like that set the tone of secret identities. They don't matter here. And like when you look forward to these movies, there are very few cases where it took all the way to
Well,
Spider-Man:
look at the
Homecoming.
Avengers. Who has a secret identity in the Avengers?
None of them.
Very few.
None
Yeah.
of the Avengers.
Maybe Hawkeye. Do people know who Hawkeye is?
Nobody gives a shit.
No one gives a shit.
Right, but Thor,
Yeah,
Thor's
and
just
it's not-
Thor.
He doesn't wear a mask.
Everyone
so-
knows who Captain America is. Everyone knows who Iron Man is.
Hawkeye's
right?
like trying to tell everybody, and they're like, we don't care, dude.
But he's like, no, but I don't know.
Like, I
Go get
think-
a bow,
Shut up,
make some
Clint,
fucking-
get outta here.
getting
Make some
like
stew.
Daredevil, but that's like getting really extended. In just the MCU movies, I don't think there's any character.
Black Panther?
I don't know.
I don't know if the world at
Maybe,
large
maybe,
knows. You know what I
that
mean?
actually makes a lot of sense.
I don't think they
People
do.
don't know that Hulk's banner,
Spider-Man's a secret.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's secret.
Spider-Man's secret, yeah.
So it's interesting,
But it's
Very
fascinating.
interesting. But yeah, it's just crazy to watch this movie and then not know that it's going to turn into something, and for it to turn into what it did is just crazy. They set so many seeds, and even just having Agent Coulson be there. Like, I didn't remember him being in the movie.
Nope.
He shows up in his giant oversized suit. I was looking at this, I'm like, man, this is a suit from a different time.
Yep.
It's not fitted at all. He's
Security,
just like, he looks like
Homeland.
a kid in his dad's suit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And the acronym for SHIELD is not what the acronym was in the comics.
No, that was different. But
Yeah.
I liked that they had that and then later reinforced it. Like,
Yeah,
no,
he's
okay,
like,
it's S.H.I.E.L.D.
S.H.I.E.L.D. Just
call it
Although
S.H.I.E.L.D.
his character was weird because his whole arc in the movie and everything he does, he kind of comes, he's like, yo, I need a
just
meeting
wants to
with you
talk to
guys
Pepper.
because we need to talk about this whole superhero thing.
Debrief. We need to debrief
We need to
you.
debrief. And then like he just kind of keeps chasing, and then eventually like she's running away from the bad guy at this point, and she just goes, follow me. It's meeting time.
Well, she's gonna. I mean,
No.
she told him everything.
Yeah, she was like, oh,
Obadiah
I know.
Stane tried to kill Tony. This
And that's
was
why they
happening.
come
But then
back
it's
with
just
the
then it's just weird where it's like, yeah, then they come and like blow up the doors and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Like it felt very compared to a lot of the rest of the movie, I was just like, what the fuck? Like that is beyond rushed. Where I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, we're getting into that. That was like that again. We're getting into that like 15-minute third act section where
But it's
it
not
needed to
15
be.
minutes. It's long.
It did. Yeah, I don't know. It just goes by. I thought the movie, if anything else, could use a little bit more on the other half, like the last half of it. But that's just me. I liked it a lot.
A couple other Easter eggs I want to bring to you guys' attention here. The scene where Obadiah is playing on the piano, he's playing a song called Larghetto, composed by Antonio Salieri. So I'm going to run with that because I don't know how to fucking say it. He's remembered in history as the bitter rival and enemy of Wolfgang Mozart, and many believe that he even
Salieri.
went as far as plotting Mozart's death.
Yeah.
While Stane is playing this melody, the film subtly makes a comparison between Stane's own darkness and jealousy and Obadiah's the Salieri to Tony Stark's Mozart, Arrival to China. So that's a fun little
cool.
thing. I liked that.
I like that.
The Roxxon Oil Corporation, you can see it in the background on a building in all the Iron Man movies, and that's cool because that's the people behind Tony Stark's parents' deaths in the comics.
Interesting.
You can see Cap's shield
Yeah, I love that.
being worked on in there, so that's fun.
You missed one?
yeah, it's
Where?
in the background?
Yeah, it's in the background. It's like
workstation.
it's super broken. In 2, you see it like
Yeah, and two
pronounced.
is it's one of them. I know he grabs it and says, "Oh, that's perfect," and puts it down and puts something over it.
Because in 1, yeah, it's just sitting.
But he
on-
doesn't
it's
even know
just
who
in the
Cap is.
background. Which is weird. Yeah. Well, again, this movie, there's a lot of weird things that are just, I think, Easter eggs and not so much world building.
Would he not have known who Cap was? I thought
No,
everyone
yeah,
he would
Cap-
know who he
Cap's a
is, but-
secret.
He didn't know him, but
He didn't know he was back.
Oh, sure, yeah.
No, wait, but dude,
I thought everyone knew who Captain
Kevin,
America
talk
was.
in your microphone if you're gonna talk.
sorry, you're right. I think Cap's like a secret, other than being
They sold trading cards of him.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like as like a fake person. You know, like the character of Captain America is not the same as like the hero Captain America that
point.
was like going in
Really?
there. I mean,
We'll have to
I
find
don't
out.
Oh
know.
yeah, we're gonna see in a couple weeks. I
I
guess.
don't know. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know
Christ,
if they
is
addressed
Captain
that.
America then like coming up soon?
Yeah,
That's one that
well,
I know.
yeah.
One
You
of
don't
the
like
first
Captain
5.
America?
Point.
We'll get there later, Cap.
I'd rather watch Captain America than Hulk.
The Iron Man
Hulk's not that bad.
1966 theme song is the ringtone that keeps playing.
Oh really?
Yeah. The planes that when he's like doing the sick ass barrel rolls and
Raptors,
shit. Those are called Whiplash 1 and 2. Again, Whiplash
that.
becomes a
That's
bad
cool.
guy. And Stanley's cameo, Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
So
Did the math last night. When he flies from Malibu to Afghanistan.
Yeah. How long would that take?
A normal flight is a 15-hour flight. But since he was going at Mach 2, which is past the speed of sound, he was going faster than those fighter jets were going. Whiplash, I guess, or whatever.
The Raptors.
When he goes supersonic?
Yeah, when he goes, when he breaks the sound barrier, if you consistently are going at that speed, some sites said it would be anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours. So he was up in the air for a good while.
That's what I was thinking about when he's doing and he's all mad and then he jumped up and went and I was just like,
That's a long
time to be like this.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Also, I wonder if that
How do I
timing.
piss? Yeah.
I wonder if that timing matches
just
up
right into the
with
suit.
the day and night cycle. I guess it probably would because he left it was night. It was day over there, right? So that makes sense, right?
I do not know how that works.
I forget. I don't know what country they were in, but I assume it's somewhere in the Middle East.
They said Afghanistan on
was it
the
Afghanistan?
on the
Yeah,
wiki
probably.
or whatever. Yeah.
I love that scene though, man. There's
cool.
something so vindicating about that scene. So
When he
fucking
cleans,
good.
when he fucking
when
fucks
he
those
just
guys up.
lands and stands
Oh,
up.
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
totally.
Fuck you all. It's so good.
God, the first 15 minutes of this movie, like, it's early in this MC interview, but it might be my favorite of the entire fucking thing.
It's a bold statement.
It's so good, man. From the first time you see him in the car to him doing the fireworks show, holy crap,
Oh
man.
yeah, it's how
so
Dad did
good.
it. It's how America does it.
It's worked out pretty well.
so far.
Whatever.
It's so good. All right, now to get into the ranking talk here.
Sure.
Plot, comedy, action, standalone universe building. Plot, what do we think?
What are we ranking this out of?
Just words.
Just in
We
general?
don't need to put
Sure,
trends
sure.
or anything to it, but I thought the plot worked.
I thought it works.
It was really, I thought it was
But
good.
it's
It
not
introduced the
great,
character.
right?
No, but it's an origin story. The plot is services just getting Tony to
that's
Iron
not-
Man, and that's it.
I feel like the problem is that third act where it just there's a good plot or a decent enough plot to move us along, and then when you get to the third act, everything's just kind of rushed because it's like, great, the reveals happen, like he is Iron Man now. Let's end this so that like he could have that moment in front of the stage, needing to in front of everyone be like, hey, I am Iron Man.
See, I would have agreed with you prior to the other films, but now looking at all of them and seeing how many of them absolutely has to have the MacGuffin that's going to be world ending, it's actually nice to go back and watch this and have it just be as refreshing as this guy tried to kill me and he's trying to steal my tech and my company and I'm just going to try to stop him.
He has
And
a
that's
really
it.
deep voice for some reason.
Oh,
in
don't
this suit.
Not even a deep voice. He like he like slows his speech pattern.
Yeah.
Daughter, I like my suit better. I'd be like, Obadiah, what is happening? Why is your voice coming out like
Are you
that?
being played back on a recorder? What's happening?
Yeah. But I think plot wise, the whole kind of concept from the moment you see Tony, like when he gets captured and he looks over and he sees the Stark Industries and just the plot of his character
really cool,
development.
yeah.
I was like, they did a really great job.
Yeah,
with
that was awesome. I mean, I always, and even on the rewatch, have always liked it and thought it and put it in I'm tired, at a high place, right? Of like that. He lands, he wants a cheeseburger, and he wants a press conference. And he comes in and he does that sit down and he gets up and he's just like, we're done. And like how Jeff Bridges rushes in and grabs him and all that stuff. I was like, that is all so logical in a sense of if you went through that and you saw that. What I like, and it, you know, I'm always the guy who likes Iron Man 3 so much because there's like actual ramifications.
Right.
In terms of like, Terrence Howard, I liked better than I remembered liking him. I still don't like the character of Rhodey, I think, but I love the fucking scene of him running up to Tony Stark and goes, "How was the fun V?" Right,
Yeah.
and then he like breaks
Like,
down and
next time
hugs
you
him,
ride
and
with
it's
me.
like, "Great, have you guys been friends your entire life?" I don't know. Okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was like that. That's a cool scene, and that's cool emotion, and like the Tony Stark plotline, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think, I mean, again, at the Marvel movies when they're at their best really have to do with the big set pieces, sure, the big action pieces, but really just watching these fun characters interact with each other. And I think that's what this one really does very, very well.
So then the comedy in this one. Again,
I love it.
Set the tone for what the
Great.
MCU was. I thought it was great. I thought not enough of it towards the latter half, where it's just like the first half was so filled with it that I feel like the movie tonally shifts so much. And I understand why, because Tony changes. But I did feel like there was, I would rather it be a bit more evenly placed throughout the movie.
Lots of quick wit between him and Pepper, and clearly a lot of that is improv as well. And then with the reporter woman.
Oh my God, I
from-
love
Leslie
yeah.
Bibb.
Every conversation
Leslie
they had,
Bibb.
I was
From
in.
Talladega Nights.
She is from Talladega.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
When he first
Tractor
meets
beam
her and
hotness.
first talks to her, and there's just that like hatred between them, and then
Yeah.
it just cuts to them fucking.
But then her movements were really weird when they were in bed. That's like
yeah, it was a little aggressive.
her like head was like it's like she was doing the Steve Austin when he like hovers over people. And stuff. It was like
After
really,
he
really
stunned
fast.
somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe she stunned him.
Yeah, you're right.
I also find it funny that in the final scene or whatever, like, I am Iron Man, and everyone jumps up. She just sits there with like no reaction. I'm like, wait,
I didn't
what?
notice that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
They all like go crazy around her. She's just like,
So then, next section, action.
Yeah.
My thing is, I feel like the fight scene was not great.
Obadiah's fight scene?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, like the big fight.
Yeah.
But
Can we
I-
also rank villains?
sure, this is number one.
Oh, you're
Obadiah
right.
Stane,
I'm
number
at,
one.
let's
We
add
should
villain.
rank villains.
Yeah.
Rank villains.
Is someone writing these
Not
down?
not
or-
ranking, but like discuss as a thing to talk about.
You and
No,
I can
I wanna
rank.
rank
You and I can rank them.
Yeah, okay.
We have our own side podcast.
Okay.
Again,
Andy and
I-
Greg's
this is
MCU villains in the two.
Villain rundown.
I like the action because I feel like they chose to focus more on the mechanics of the action and less on the actual like flow of
Fight.
it, right? And for me, like back when I watched it the first time, I was like, this is cool, not because of the fact that it's it's like Spider-Man Homecoming style action where it's so beautifully choreographed that you're like, this is amazing, but because it was like, I want to see how he's gonna do what he needs to do in this suit. It felt like I was watching him.
We were
figure it out
learning
as
as
we
he
were
was
going.
going,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so when he's like the part where he's holding up
Yeah.
the car, and then she puts the car down and he's like, lady, stop, and then he
Yeah.
has to like lift the car up to. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense because this is the first time I've seen it. Like, how's he gonna get out of this? Oh, right, he's in a mechanical suit that's like hydraulic and lift things. So I thought it was enjoyable from that standpoint, from a choreography standpoint, and from a pacing standpoint. It was a little weird, and again, it kind of ends very abruptly, which you would almost be like, God, I wanted more of that. I wanted another beat to that action. I wanted the dead body to come back and grab you one more time.
That doesn't end with the giant blue thing going into the
shooting
sky.
into the sky, which was weird. Like I thought it was going to be one or two more beats of action after that. But then by the time you get to I Am Iron Man, you're like, oh fuck, I don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
I'm like, who cares? That was awesome.
My favorite action scene in the movie is him with the two planes. And it's just like, I feel it's the first
He's
time
like,
where you
technically
really
he hit me.
well, yeah, but we really get to see
so
him
good.
use his hands. It's like that's
Yeah.
just another weird design distinction where you're like, you see it and like that is Iron Man. That is how Iron Man flies.
Makes sense.
And that's cool. And him doing the thing where
Checks
like
out.
how he like breaks
The
and stops
flaps.
and so cool in the barrel.
Yeah.
Everything about that I thought was great.
I like
It's
it.
me. Oh, yeah, I know it's you. No, it's me. I'm the bogey.
And there's the sequence
The
that I thought
panic
was
in his
was
voice.
tastefully
Yeah.
done, where it wasn't. Oh, my hand, and the guy's falling, and my shoot's not going, and that seemed to me on the second watching, I'm like, that lasted exactly where it needed to go.
Yep,
He grabbed
totally.
it, punched it out. It's a clean shoot. Everyone's like, yeah, and then we're on to the next thing. Like we don't need to lament on that too much.
Yeah.
Except
And
for-
shout out, this is
What?
out of order,
No,
but
go.
shout out
What
to
was it?
Jensen. I like
Oh,
that.
Jensen's great.
I like that
I loved
character
him.
a lot.
Shout out
So
to when they
good.
brought Jensen back.
Yeah, I know. Exciting. Shush, don't spoil it.
I'm sure pretty people have seen.
I don't even remember that.
They bring him. He's like, I met you in
Oh, in the
Bean,
party.
Switzerland, or whatever
Oh,
it
It
was.
gives that scene coming up in
He's
Iron
that
Man
actor.
Oh my god,
2
yeah.
or 3.
Oh, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
Let's get there. So then the last two things are: does it stand alone as a movie, and how much does it work as universe building? Standalone, I
course.
think absolutely,
100%.
and universe building, duh.
Yeah,
Yeah, did pretty well.
Foundation.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to say that. Yeah.
So
Rank one.
The final ranking of Iron Man.
Yeah, final ranking of Iron Man, top of the list, number one. Obadiah Stane in the villain.
Obadiah Stane, chilling with the villains podcast right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Obadiah Stane, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
We had nothing. We didn't compare him to anything. A fun story. I used to get. Now this is getting ahead of ourselves and yada yada, but it makes sense here. When the Thor movies kept using Loki, and I like Dark World or whatever, but then he was also in Avengers and he's in the Thor thing. And don't get me wrong, I've come around. I love Loki now and everything. But I remember being annoyed in trailers when I'd see Loki again, and people were like, "Why?" And I'm like, "This would be like if it was Iron Man 3 and Obadiah Stane was still the villain. He's still there."
That's a good.
I
Point.
kept calling him
Toner!
Gemini. That's a great Jeff Bridges impersonation.
We've been doing them all day long.
All day.
Did you also find it?
Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Do you find it a little unsettling how much he touches his employees? He's
Oh,
always
yeah.
like this.
Always,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
always
yeah,
So close. I'm like, stop touching them.
2017, dude.
yeah, he like
can't
reaches
do
over.
that.
He's like, "I missed you, man." I forgot
Like, he does that thing. He
It's good to
puts
see
it,
ya.
and he's
Tony
just too
always
close.
keeps the good stuff for himself, doesn't he? Tony's always got the good stuff, doesn't he?
What are you gargling or what? So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the first episode of Kind of Funny's MCU in review. Every single week, we will be doing this review, this ranking, this beautiful thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
MCU in review for you.
Hey, next week will be The Incredible Hulk, Tuesday at 9 a.m. You should watch along, talk in the comments, discuss, leave your rankings. Until next time, I love you.
I love you.
Calling it right now. Iron Man stays #1 throughout the entire thing.
Wow.
The entire
They're
thing.
fucking
no way.
crazy.
You're a madman.
There's absolutely
You've
no
seen
way.
Avengers, right?
Fight 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men.
So you think you're the first people to do a superhero show? Well, I'm Cisco, and I'm here to introduce you to the Avengers Initiative and Drew Hill app. Make sure you download that, okay?